I had to go through and audit my time, and anything that didn't get me closer to my goals, I cut out.
I think it's really interesting to hear about, you're a new father, you have a lot of things going on, your work, fatherhood, the stuff you're doing outside blogging and doing card analysis. How do you balance all those things? What are some of the things you've learned? I mean, that's something I'll eventually, hopefully, have to go through. And so I
Yeah.
want to be as prepared as possible.
Yeah. So early on, before when it was just me and my wife, it was a lot of give and take, and we just would have a lot of conversations about how much is too much time to spend on these side jobs and how much time should I peel back and just try to disconnect myself from those things. And it's very hard for me. Admittedly, I'm a little bit of a workaholic, but again, that comes back to doing things that I love. I enjoy it so much. I find it hard to stop sometimes. But what I found is you just have to make a lot of sacrifices. And so to put it into perspective, when I first started my Daily Fantasy Sports Advisor podcast, I would get up at 4 a.m. before my 9 to 5 and basically get it all done before 7 when I left for work. So I knew I had 3 hours to do a little bit of research, record the podcast, get it posted. And I learned about ways that I could save the raw files and get it posted throughout the day. So you'll pick up little tricks like that. But I can guarantee you that between 4 and 7, very little people will be competing for your time. So if you're someone who can find themselves to get in bed by 9 or 10, which my wife's a teacher, so she has to get in bed early because school starts early. So that's not a problem for me. I'm not a night owl. I'm a morning person. But from 4 to 7, I would get it all done. And very little, I can't think of a time where my wife said, I need your time from 4 to 7 in the morning. So that was one way. I find times that people don't need you. Maybe for you, it might be, okay, the family's going down for bed at 9 or 10. I'm going to stay up till midnight and do it that way. And maybe you get your 6 to 8 hours of sleep from midnight to 8 or 7. So you'll find those different times. I also found that I had to go through and audit my time, and anything that didn't get me closer to my goals, I cut out. And what I mean by that is I had goals as an employee. I had goals as a father and a husband and as a side hustle CEO. And so I would write all those goals down on paper, and I would write all the things I spend my time on throughout the day. And if something didn't get me any closer to any of those goals, it had to go. I never watched an episode of Game of Thrones. I never did. It didn't get me to any of those goals. And I know for some people, that's an escape and that gives them joy, and they should carve out time for their favorite shows. But when I looked at my list of things, TV didn't get me any closer. So I don't watch any TV other than what my wife watches. And I kind of do work on the side on my phone while she's watching Grey's Anatomy, Station 19, Good Doctor. I mean, she watches all those stuffs, and I kind of carve out time on eBay, look for card stuff, and I check Instagram for different things. I read articles. So, having an honest conversation with the people in your life that you are going to have to share your time with, and understanding what they're okay with and what they're not okay with is very important. And cutting out things, video games had to go, cards had to go. If I golfed, or not cards, shows had to go. Cards did not go. They keep coming. Things like if you, and this is very important for me too. Time is money, and money is time. So I would used to go at everything myself. So if I wanted to write a web scraper, I might, spend half of a Saturday trying to learn how to scrape something off of the internet. What I found was, especially as I had more disposable income and my side businesses did generate a little bit of cash, I could save 4 to 6 hours on a weekend if I go hire somebody on Fiverr for $50 or $100 to write the web scraper for me. And so that's another thing, right? I mean, 6 to 8 hours over the weekend with my son and my wife is worth that $50 to $100 it cost me to have them write that web scraper. And so now all I have to do is adjust that code that they wrote me based on whatever website I'm looking at. So being willing to give up a little bit of money to save a bunch of time is very important if you want to carve out extra time for yourself, and having honest conversations. And so now the way that my days are scheduled, my wife and I wake up, I get my son out the door to daycare. I usually have an hour or two before my 9 to 5 starts. I get work in there. I'll usually take an hour for lunch/side hustle stuff. And then depending, I always shoot to have my 9 to 5 stuff done by 3 or 4, because any hour that I can save myself, and I write down a list of things I want to accomplish that day, once I get those things done, I then work on my side hustle stuff. It's like a reward. And so you'll figure out what works for your own schedule and your own family and your own needs. But a lot of it comes down to sacrifice, and a lot of the sacrifices on your end. And it's those things that don't ultimately, I don't do social media. I haven't updated my Facebook status in probably over a year. If I'm on social media like Instagram or Twitter, it's usually directly related to my side hustle stuff. I don't say, woke up this morning, had a bowl of Cheerios, feel great. I don't do any of that stuff. It's so my time is very efficient now, and that only works if you're enjoying what you're doing. If you hate what you're doing, that's not going to work. It won't last, and you're going to fail in the end.